This is the Chewing the Cud podcast, a podcast for the UK dairy industry, brought to you from the southwest of England and listened to around the world. Hello and welcome to Chewing the Cud podcast. My name's Andrew Jones, and with me as always is
Sarah Bolt.
How are you doing, Sarah?
I'm very well, thank you, Andrew. How are you keeping?
Happy New Year, Sarah.
Happy New Year to you too, Andrew.
Thank you. Good Christmas?
Had a lovely Christmas. Thank you ever so much. Yeah, lots of good food, lots of good wine, and some great company as well. So what more can you want?
Well, exactly. And I hope, wishing all our listeners a happy new year, and I hope you've had the same. It's 2026. We've got a lot planned for the coming year, but this episode we thought we'd follow up on the one we did January last year in terms of talking about your staff and this time more talking about staff retention. And in it I was trying to mention a quote from Richard Branson, which I could not remember right at the time, so I thought I'll find it and mention it now. And the quote that Richard Branson said was, "Train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to."
That's a hard one to get your head around exactly at the time, but makes so much sense when you say it slowly like that.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember the wording. I know what I was trying to say, but it's just such a good quote, isn't it?
It is such a good quote and very relevant to what we were talking about at the time.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. So we hope you'll enjoy it now. And our last intro, we teased we had some news. So I guess it's time to share some news, isn't it?
It is. Go on, Andrew. It's it's your news.
Well, it's my news. Oh, you're part of this, Sarah, but we had a little think, and we thought something was ticking away in my brain, and so we're excited that come February, late in February, we have got a live event planned. Now, it won't go out live, but the plan is we will have 2 sessions, morning and afternoon. The first one is going to be about artificial intelligence. The second one is going to be about herbal lays. So a bit of a mix, I understand. And we're going to have a panel, make a small talk to the audience. It will be very limited, the size of the audience, given the room at the Southwest Dairy Development Centre where it's going to be hosted. We'll make a talk to the audience and to us, Sarah and I hosting like usual. But then once that's done, the idea is people can then ask the panel questions on those subjects. We're hoping some will be pre-submitted, some will be off the cuff in the moment. But if you'd like to know more about that, please do let us know and you'd like to attend. So the date is Tuesday the 24th of February. It will be held at the Southwest Dairy Development Centre, and we'll announce more details. We've got the speakers pretty much confirmed at the time of re-recording this. We just need to, dot a few I's and cross a few T's, but that's the idea. So if you'd like to be part of the audience and be able to ask some questions, then please do let us know at the usual address of podcast@chewingthecud.com, and we'd be happily add you to our invitation list, because it is going to be very limited, the spaces.
It's almost going to be like our very own gardener's question time.
Well,
she says, being the sad Radio 4 listener that I am and thoroughly enjoy that programme.
I've got to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever listened, but someone else has basically said that to me, that one of the potential speakers, he said, "Oh, it's a bit like Gardener's Question Time." I said, yeah, in my head, I guess I'm thinking, well, you're probably more suited to be Fiona Bruce than me, but I'm thinking of question time, that kind of thing, that we'll have, a panel talk about, say, AI in the morning, lays in the afternoon, and then people can book to do one or both sessions because they may be interested in one or other, and then ask some real questions. We're going to record the whole thing, edit it, and then put them both out later in 2026 for people to hear. So I hope that will be of interest to people.
That's fabulous. So just remind people how they can get in touch to get their invitation.
Just email us at podcast@chewingthecud.com.
Brilliant. We look forward to hearing from you all.
Yeah, we do. We do. I'm hoping. I'm excited. I'm hoping it will be an interesting event. Lots to learn as always, and hopefully have some interesting questions from everybody that's there. But in the meantime, now we've given you a bit more news about that. It's time to go listen to our guest and talking about staff and I guess staff retention. This podcast has been brought to you today by Chewing the Cud Limited, who offer completely independent dairy and beef nutrition, cow signals advice and training, along with ROMS mobility scoring. For more details on these and other services available, please visit our website www.chewingthecud.com or email us directly on nutrition@chewingthecud.com. Chewing the Cud Limited now offers first aid training from a registered first aid at work trainer and experienced minor injuries practitioner. For more details, please visit our website www.chewingthecud.com or email us directly on training@chewingthecud.com. Hello, I'm Andrew Jones.
And I'm Sarah Bolt.
And welcome to the Chewing the Cud podcast, a podcast for the UK dairy industry.
Farmer, advisor, processor, and everyone else. We have topics and episodes that will interest you.
We discuss the practical and the technical aspects of different UK dairy industry topics.
We aim to make you think about what you're doing and ask yourself, can it be done differently?
Listen to us speak with specialists from inside and outside the industry about their area of expertise.
Subscribe and listen to episodes for free on your favourite podcast platform.
Sign up to our website, www.chewingthecud.com, for podcast notifications so you never miss an episode.
And links to our socials, including Instagram, Chewing the Cud Podcast. All one word, and remember, no G.
Or email us direct on podcast@chewingthecud.com.
If you like what we do, please share and leave us a review to show your support. And that's it. Enjoy today's episode.
Hello and welcome back to Chewing the Cud podcast, and a happy new year to everybody. Today our guest is Becky Miles. Hello, Becky.
Good morning. How are we all?
Good. From Real Success. Now, we thought we'd ask Becky on. It's beginning of the year. Last year we had Paul Harris from Real Success on, and that episode, from the feedback we had, went down very well. So we thought we'd continue that again. New year, start thinking about your staff. I suppose we've got through I'm not going to say hump, but we've got through Christmas, we've got through New Year, and now it probably feels like a bit the hump, January, February. So we sort of talk. So Becky, I know you've been on before, actually with Sarah as a guest, wasn't it, when we spoke about women in dairy?
Yeah, we had a real laugh, didn't we?
We did.
but can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
Oh my goodness, we don't have that long. Yes, so studied to be a farm secretary at Sparshall, then went to Harper Adams, and then I got my first job, which I will talk about a bit later, at West of England Farmers Grain Trading. Didn't stay there an awfully long time. Got married, saw the opportunity to go and farm in southwest Portugal, growing baby new potatoes to export back here and manage a 1,200 head flock of sheep on a frequent lambing basis. We went out with a suitcase each and a collie dog, and then we came back 7 years later with 2 kids and a load of stuff, as you do. But it was a fantastic experience, and I always talk about it because if you don't put your hat in the ring when you see a job advert, then you're never going to get it. So really grateful we put ourselves forward. Came back, worked on the Isle of Wight for a little bit for the garlic farm, then up to near Newmarket in Suffolk, worked for a rural pension portfolio, which I've never experienced before. It's fascinating. And we were doing sustainable development, which was new at the time. And then got divorced around that time, and then went to HDB and worked in the Dairy Knowledge Exchange team for 13 years. Left there 4 years.
That's why we first met.
It is. We worked very closely together in the Southwest. We had a great time, and left there 4 years ago and started working for Real Success. And I've got a couple of other hats I wear as well at the moment.
Can't believe it's been 4 years now, to be honest with you, Becky. But obviously,
time flies.
Like Sarah, I'd met you when you were still at AHDB originally. But obviously, we spoke to Paul about,
getting people management, and really it started a lot about getting people on farm and the differences that he saw coming into the industry. And as he said, one of the basics was people not even have toilets or whatever it was. But I guess today we're concentrating more on you've taken them on board. You've agreed to take them on as a member of your staff, but it's more about working with them, onboarding them, staff retention, those sorts of things, isn't it? I think is what we've sort of planned to talk about a little bit today. So, where would you like to start? I suppose
Okay.
You've just decided to employ me. You've given me the nod. Yeah, well, you can start on Monday. Where's it going to go from there?
Yeah, so I think within farming, we've got this saying, well sown is half grown. Do we actually do the same for our staff when they join our team? How often do I hear people complaining they can't get staff, or they don't work enough, or they don't do long enough hours, they don't do the jobs right, they show no initiative, and bang on and on and on. Is absolutely not the way to speak about your staff in public, because you're now bracketed as a moaner and not somebody anybody wants to come and work for, if that's how you talk about your team, because without a team, nothing's going to happen. Okay? So we need to give them the best start, just as we would for our crops and our livestock. We make sure our crops and livestock, we invest time and money and nurturing and support to make sure they've got the right nutrition. And if there's anything wrong with them, we react and do something. Do we do that with our people? Not very often, I'm afraid. So when we recruit somebody, when they start, that's our golden opportunity, the honeymoon period, when they're all fired up. You've got that opportunity to get the most out of them. When I say, I don't mean, work them to death in 90-hour week, but get them on board.
They're enthusiastic to be part of your business, or majority are. Most people are there because they want to be there. It's not just a job. They're enthusiastic, want to be there. We need to cultivate that enthusiasm to continue them in the business longer term.
Exactly. And just like with a young calf, it's your golden opportunity. You get the best return on investment in terms of growth. It's the same with people. So make the most of it. And I'm sure most people listening in will have had a job at some time. And maybe we could reflect now on how we were treated when we first started. And was that a good experience? Or was it not such a good experience? So I will share that my first job when I left Harper Adams was working for West of England farmers as a grain trader. And I turned up on the first day, on a Monday, all excited. And my manager came and met me at reception and took me to my desk and sat opposite me. And that was pretty much it for the week. I had no job description. I didn't know what my responsibilities were, what I was supposed to be doing. And to be honest, on Friday, I phoned in sick. And on Monday, I did go back, and he met me in reception and apologised and said, I know exactly why you weren't here on Friday. Things will be different. Well, they improved a little bit, but not enough. I was already looking for another job. So that was poor onboarding.
And I'm sure that's, that you explain that situation. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have been in very similar situations, sort of, here's your laptop. There we are. That's the job. Go off and do it. And we all need to learn, don't we? We all need to understand, what is the aim of the business? How does your role fit into that business?
Yep, exactly. So are you left floundering and confused and unable to ask questions, or are you guided from the moment you arrive? Welcome to the team. Let me show you how we do things. This is where you can leave your coat. This is where we have lunch. We do have a toilet. Please tell me you have a toilet on your farm. It's 2026 now. Come on. We should have a toilet on farm, and it should be suitable to be used. So don't blow the opportunity. This is a golden ticket. Don't just stick them on a scraper tractor or get them to bedding out calves or greasing the kit or sweeping the yard and let them get on with it, because they'll be all right, won't they? They said they knew what to do when they were at the interview, but they don't know how you do it on your farm. Where are the tools? Where is the restroom? Yeah, you want them to do a good job. They want to make a good impression. Are you actually allowing them to do that? Are you setting yourself up for success and them for success?
Well, it can be simple things. I know it's one I often quote that I used to do. Particularly if someone's milking, don't expect you employ them on the Monday morning. Don't expect them to turn up at 5 o'clock on a Monday morning. I always used to bring them in at 10 o'clock after breakfast, because at 5 o'clock in the morning in the dark, they're stumbling around. They don't know where they are. They don't know what's going. Oh, they don't know there's a hose left there for them to trip over. Turn up at 10 o'clock, give them the introduction and then do the first milking with them in the afternoon. A couple of hours, it's not going to make a lot of difference. It just, why have people stumbling in the dark, not knowing what they're doing? Have them turn up at 10 o'clock or whenever it is breakfast finishes for you. Have them come in after breakfast, then do the introduction and then do the afternoon milking. It's just little things like that can actually make a big difference.
Exactly. And then it shows you've made an effort and you've thought about it. So you're instantly on the front foot, and they've observed that and they're going to value that and feel supported. So you need a plan, basically. And I suggest, when they arrive, meet them in the office and have a cup of tea. You may still be some paperwork to go through. Welcome to our business. Really looking forward to you working with us. We've got everything set up for you. And talk about what was in the offer letter. Make sure you give them their terms and conditions on day one. That's a legal requirement. The contract must be with them within the first 2 months, as things stand at the moment. I mean, at this time of recording.
Difference between terms and conditions and contract.
Contract gives you all the policies and the details of their salary and everything. Terms and conditions it is what it says on the tin. Terms and the conditions of employment. Ideally, you would go through the health and safety policies with them before they start doing anything on farm, so that you're covered and they're covered. Hopefully as well, ideally you have a staff handbook and they can go through that. I don't expect them to read and absorb it all in that day, but give them the headlines of what's important, and then they need to go away and read it and then sign that they have seen it, and so everyone knows they've got the details. There may be some more personal details you need so you can pay them correctly if you've got the tax code, bank details and things like that. Gives them a bit of security that, they are intending to pay me, this is good, they've got the details. When are you going to pay me? How's it going to happen? And again, a lot of farms use lots of WhatsApp groups to make things happen on farm, to keep communication going. So add them on so that they know, and this group's this WhatsApp group is for feeding, this one's for milking, this one's for the machinery, whatever it is on your farm, make sure they're included and do an invite, just welcome Bob onto the WhatsApp. It's just started today. His role is make him feel welcome when you see him. And we look forward to working with him.
So you've just mentioned health and safety there, Becky. I think it's an ideal opportunity to sort of provide staff with the correct PPE and everything else that they need for the role, isn't it? And maybe even a staff uniform.
Yes, yeah, and so many people are going high vis now, which is fantastic. I'm so pro that. And badged or branded, so that you feel part of the team instantly. You put it on, and ideally at least two jackets and whatnot, so you can have one in the wash and one clean.
I think I mentioned it with the podcast we did with Eric last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it must have been, talking about the silage. How high vis only now seems to really be kicking in over here. I mentioned at the time, my time in Oz, most tradies had a high vis shirt on, and I mean, when so bottom half was blue, but top half was either yellow or orange. You just don't see that over here in the same way. And I know I brought the staff sort of a jacket that was half yellow, blue, and then with some silver stripes on that. And I remember my 2IC, as soon as I had the one to sort of try myself, was just like, I could see you halfway, not across the farm, but several paddocks away and that. And it just little things like that again make the difference. That I don't know, to me it just feels we're a little bit behind compared to some other parts of the world in terms of you wearing high vis and ensuring everybody has high vis on farm to be seen.
I have to say it's a lot better. We've just done some work with a particular milk pool, and every farm I went to they all had branded high vis. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong, it's getting better, but that's 25 years ago, you'd see certainly all tradies, and you're starting to see more and more farms, sort of like in Oz, that they ensure they have a high vis. Everyone has a high vis shirt on, so they can. And
I think the products have improved.
Yes.
There's lots of different ones. You can have summer ones, you can have winter ones, so it's appropriate for what the tasks they have to do. Whereas before it was quite bulky and wasn't really fit for purpose.
And I guess it's not just uniform and coats. It's where's the helmet that goes with the ATV and all of those sorts of things as well.
Appropriate boots as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's about setting the culture from day one. This is the way we do things here. and it comes from the top. It comes from leadership. And if you're not doing it, why would you expect the rest of the team to do it? It's so important. We use, I'm sure Paul has mentioned it to you before, the accountability ladder. So if you imagine a ladder, okay, we've not mentioned it before, great. Fresh meat, here we go. Buckle up. So imagine a ladder.
Him talking about it anyway. Apologies.
I don't either. So
you will after I've spoken about it. So imagine a ladder upright, and halfway up there's a red line horizontally going across. When people aren't performing, they are below the line, and they are giving victim behaviour statements. So they will wait and hope that no one notices they did something wrong or broke something. They will make excuses like, I can't, or I only did that because, or they'll blame others. That, I think John did that, wasn't me, or in denial, so I don't know. We need everybody to be above the red line, so the top end of the ladder, and the way that they will express themselves or act, their behaviours, will be accountable ones. So acknowledge reality. I made a mistake. I broke something, but I broke the broom and I went and found a spare handle and I fixed it.
Is that Trigger's
attitude.
broom, by the way?
Trigger's broom, yeah. How many years did Trigger have that broom? So they accept and own when they've made a mistake. They find solutions and they make things happen. But the culture has to be that everyone feels in a psychologically safe and trusted place, that they can own up, they can ask questions. Because if that's not there and that's set by the leadership, it's never going to happen. So it's a really powerful tool.
Completely. You want everybody to have ownership of what they're doing, don't you? And that's not just physically doing the job. It's, as you say, I'm not going to say it, admitting mistakes. I think it's probably the best way to say it. Admitting mistakes.
We are all human.
Yeah. And know that they can safely admit mistakes. Yeah, I'm sure whoever it is probably going to, for crying out loud.
Yep.
But, ultimately it's still like, okay, it happened. Let's move on. We've just got to deal with it.
Yeah. So if everybody has the time, the tools, the skills and the knowledge, they're out of excuses for not performing their task. So it's 4 things.
Go
time,
through those
tools,
again, Becky.
Time. Have they got the time? Have you given them enough time? Have they got the tools, the physical resources? Have they got the skills? And have they got the knowledge? Then they're out of excuses to perform those victim behaviours.
Yeah, so for example, you've only given me 20 minutes to do a job that's really taken out, or I didn't have the appropriate tools, so it's taken me longer and I've ended up misusing another tool and breaking it because it's not there to use it.
Yeah,
or have
exactly. Or you've given me
I can't remember what the third one is, but the fourth one is basically you've not given them the skills to know what they should be doing to fix that water pipe or whatever it happens to be.
Exactly that. So we haven't invested in them, have we?
So there's farmers that are perhaps listening to this now and thinking, I really like the sound of that, and this culture thing might be something new to them. It might not be something that they've come across before. How do you start thinking about what your farm culture is, or how you want that your farm culture to be? How do you go about sort of thinking about that and actually getting that in place on farm?
Oh, we're going to go really deep now, and I wasn't expecting to go this deep today. That's okay. So most businesses would have a vision, mission and values statements that they've worked through to find out what's important to them. And these are the values that we're going to live by and work by. And we can definitely help people pull those together.
Would you like to explain those 3 things in a little bit more detail?
You were asking about what the vision statement, the mission statement and the values are. So a vision statement is what the organisation desires to achieve. So it might be healthy, nutritional food, if you're farming, for example. A mission statement shows the direction and strategy of the business. So it sets a course which impacts your thinking, behaviours and actions, but also those of your staff and customers. And your values are, we give people a sheet of lots of words and they will circle all the words that they ring to their personal values. And then we'll get them to do it for the business. And then you can see where the overlap is, and then you can have your core business values, because there will probably, like trust and integrity will probably be words that, honesty. So let's give you a couple of examples of mission statements and see if you can work out who they are. To be Europe's leading low-cost airline by offering low fares, excellent customer service and on-time flights.
Guessing it's probably Ryanair.
It is.
Or EasyJet. Oh, I was going to
Yeah, it's
the wrong
Ryanair.
one.
Yeah, okay. Here's another one. To respond quickly around the world, adapting and overcoming challenges.
No idea.
So it's military, it's the Marines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see how it fits when you know who it is. And here's some vision statements. Here's one. To make people happy. Who does that belong to? It's an international organisation. It's Disney.
Oh, of course it is. I was thinking of holidays and that kind of thing, but I didn't get as far as Disney. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. To provide access to the world's information in one click.
Google.
Is that Google?
Yeah, it is Google. Yeah, you see, I ended on a good note, didn't I? So you can see where, if they fit, it really works, doesn't it? And then if you live by your vision, your mission, and your values, that starts setting the culture. So, but we are getting a lot of farms using those now.
So as soon as you say culture, there's somebody I can think of straight away that they've very much got a culture in terms of behaviour around the animals and things like that, haven't they?
Yeah. And some farms you'll go to and they say, "What's your culture?" So, well, we all get on, don't we? That's good. Yep. It's more than that. It's more than that. It's our behaviours, and it starts from the top down. If we don't wear our high vis, if we don't work the way we want our team to work, it's never going to happen. And when things aren't going quite right, it's having the confidence and the ability to address conflict and give feedback when needed. So I'll come into that in a moment. But I wanted to go back to when we start setting the culture, and we need to feel that we can ask questions. People want to ask us questions. We need to find out about our team. We need to be using open questions. Because closed questions, are you all right? That's a yes-no answer. We want more than a yes-no answer. So if we think of a rugby goalposts, so you've got the two uprights and then the horizontal bar, and then imagine on the bar there are some bums or boobies, or they are actually W's, but it might sit better in your memory if you think about them as bums or boobies. And there's 5 of them sitting on that horizontal bar on the rugby post. So the H is how. That's the H, that's the rugby posts, forming that H. And then sitting on there are the W's of who, what, why, where, when. So if you can picture that, yeah, I can see you visualising it. It's cementing.
That's actually quite a good way of trying to remember it, because otherwise I've never really thought of a way to do it. And it's like, well, that's the how, the why, what, where, why. I can't remember what they are now, but anyway.
How, what, when, where, why.
Whoa. And that if you ask a question that starts with how, who, what, where, why, you're always going to get more than a yes, no answer. And that's what we want, because if we've got issues on farm, people aren't, that we've got them started on farm and things aren't going quite right, we want to find out why. Is there something going on at home? Is there something going on at work? Is it something I've done? Is it something you don't understand? Us going up to them saying, is everything all right? We're going to say yes or no. And they're probably going to say yes because they don't want to admit they're getting things wrong or don't understand.
Come on, there's nothing wrong with going, all right. That's another conversation for most people.
And in farming, that's where we're struggling at the moment, because we don't do much of the soft, fluffy stuff, as people might refer to it. Actually delving a bit deeper, finding out really what's going on, finding out the why, being in the inner toddler and keep getting why is it not working? Tell me more. Explain why you're struggling with X, Y, Z.
But that I'm just going to go from my own personal experience. That can sometimes be the, how do I put it, frustrating part, if that's the right way to put it. Probably was a bit. Like when I took over managing staff, or I took, when I was still in Victoria, all of a sudden I went from what I expected to be able to do a day to only probably doing half of what I expected to do a day, because the other half was spent managing people and asking those questions. And me personally, I get frustrated because well, I wanted to get this done today, but I haven't been able to, because I've been running around trying to find out why he isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing, or this is happening, or that's happening. So it does, being a manager, you need a change in mindset, don't you? That you've got to trust the people around you to do what's expected of them to allow you to do the managing, because you physically cannot do the amount of work that you expected to be able to do and you were doing before you suddenly started managing people. And that to me was a big lesson I had to learn.
And so often, not just in farming, NHS, government, when people are really good at their job, they get promoted to managing a team, but they don't get the training in how to manage people. Oh, you're good at that job, so off you go. Now you're being a manager without the skills or the tools or the knowledge, maybe the time, I don't know, and wondering why it's not working.
Yeah, you've got the skills to do the job, but not the skills to manage the people.
And you're not doing the job anymore because you've got somebody else doing the job for you. You're just managing it.
And you were happy before, and I knew what I was doing. Yeah. So the frustration builds. The team get frustrated because you're not managing them, and it's not your fault, and it's not their fault. So
let's be honest, when I started this business, what's that now? 3.5, 4 years ago. It was like, oh, so when you're taking staff on, it's like, no, been there, done that, not doing that again. I'm quite happy just doing my own thing and working with people around me rather than somebody under me, because I just don't want the hassle. I just don't want that.
So understanding that is a requirement and different skill set is really important. And people fall into it, particularly in family businesses. It started off being the family, and actually they need managing, but that's another story. When we start taking on staff, we didn't realise we needed that skill set. They don't work like the family do because it's not the family. They're not seeing the reward of all the effort going in. So why don't they work the same as us? And why they want time off?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can think of two examples. I think of somebody we all know. I remember him saying, have we of an industry lost the skills in farming to manage people? Because if you go back, I suppose pre-industrialization, but sort of pre-tractors, 20s, 30s, 40s, there was a lot more people on farms. So was it people were better at managing, or was it simply, well, that was the only job option, so they just put up with it in a way they wouldn't today? Or like you're saying, they need it. I remember my ex-wife, when I was in Victoria, making a comment about, I was going, they're not working full time. She, yes, they are. No, they're not. Because I'd like doing 80, 100 hours a week. And they're like, no, but they're doing 38 or whatever the thing was. They are working full time. And it took a change in my mindset to go, well, actually, I need to look at them differently. And I know my father used to complain I had too many staff. And it was like, yeah, but they're only allowed to do, or some of them only want to do 40 hours a week, and that's it. So therefore, you're effectively having 2 people for every one of you, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think going back, when I remember I went on a farm and they had a photo, and there were over 100 people in the photo, and that was the team. But then, we didn't have terms and conditions or a contract. It was, you're lucky to have a job and maybe, something to eat and a roof over your head. Different times.
So let's go back to our honeymoon.
Yeah, bring us on track. Come on, Sarah.
When we've just started a job and we're all happy, and as an employee we're all really happy, and as an employer we've got that opportunity to forge the future.
We have, and so having that induction program, so everyone knows what to expect on day 1, week 1. And then in the first month, which tasks are we going to be shown? How are you going to be trained? How are we going to check that you're progressing? We're going to have check-ins to make sure everything's working okay. You're going to be assigned somebody as your mentor. It might be me, it might be somebody else. And you're going to be introduced to them on day 1. So you know who it is and where to find them, and you've got their number so you can contact them if you need to. And we're setting ourselves up to succeed. So that by the end of the probation period, and that's up to you how long that is, you should be in a really good position. They will know a lot more about you and what you're like on a bad day and what they're like on a bad day, and also on a good day.
What sort of probation period would you recommend? Most people, I think, are about 3 months, aren't they?
Yeah, 3 months, 6 months, and you can always extend it as long as you extend it before the end of the original probation period. So I think you can go up to 9 months.
And make sure you tell them that you're doing that, because I've certainly had that experience where I was told nothing, and then we went past what was my 3 months, and they went, "Oh no, we're letting you go," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you've got to give me a month's notice." "Oh no, you're in your probation period still." "No, you're not. We've rolled past it. It's defaulted." And they went, "No, tough." And that was it. Well, I couldn't do anything about it. I'll say it's a very big, well-known company, and they basically said, and I said, well, you've not given me any kind of notice that I've rolled over my probation, but they wouldn't. I appealed against it internally, but they just wouldn't go with it. And it's like, oh well, it is what it is.
No, not good. So if you've got a probation period, you should have a formal review before the probation period ends. And that's either to say we're extending it because we haven't quite got you trained to where you need to be, or for whatever the reason is, or actually we may have, because you're being so great, we want to give you more responsibilities, but we want to make sure you're happy with those. So we need to sit down, review how things have gone, and that's a two-way conversation. How am I being as a manager and employer, and how are you being as an employee? And how can we help each other make things better going forwards if we need to? So then we know where we are. Now you're employed, hopefully, once you've finished the employment period. That's not the end of managing an employee. This is the beginning. We've got them invested. We're going to get some really good return on that investment. Now they understand you, you understand them. How do we keep them invested to continue in that frame of mind? What can we do? Because we're navigating constant change, milk price, grain price, the weather. They're only too aware of this, and how we express that when we're working with them or stomping around the farm, effing and jeffing about the milk price and things aren't going well. How we manage ourselves and how we expect them to manage. We've got to set that up.
I would say from experience, it's lonely at the top in that regard, because I know from my own experience, when I was in Victoria, the first 2 IC I had, how do I put it? Overshared sometimes maybe. And then it bit me later on, because I wouldn't say I was overly friendly, but I still probably shared one or two things that I shouldn't have. That were going on elsewhere, and you've got to. You want to be mates, don't get me wrong, but you've got to you do still have to maintain that barrier between you and your employee, because you're their employer. So you get on a farm, particularly, it's usually a small team. You work closely together when you do work together. But you still need to maintain some kind of barrier between you, because ultimately you are still their employer.
Yeah, so that's about creating that mutual respect, isn't it? Them as an employee and you as the employer, and not fudging the lines as best we can. So how do we keep them engaged? So I think keeping that contact, so having regular staff get-togethers, meetings. And why? Because we're all running on social media and WhatsApp. How often do we actually see our staff and talk to them when we're on farm during the day? We're relying on that gadget in our pocket, but we're human beings and we need interaction. So having regular get-togethers, whether it's a bacon bap and get everyone together, breaks the barriers down, keeps everyone informed and connected. Opportunity for feedback from everybody. Oh, you really dropped me in it the other day when you didn't shut the gate and you knew I was moving the stock, or little things that have happened. Let's talk it out. Let's get over it.
And the good stuff.
And the good stuff. Yeah.
And I was going to say this before WhatsApp. Wonderful thing that it is for that. But just having, to me, one of the biggest things was having that weekly staff meeting. So every Tuesday morning after breakfast, when all the staff were on farm at 10 o'clock, we had a staff meeting. And okay, WhatsApp's easy now that you send out a message, everybody sees it. But it was like, for example, that week, right, the guys are coming in to spread their fertilizer. They were terrible. Not terrible. They didn't shut gates behind them because it was cheaper to get a contractor to do it than do it yourself. And so you just go, right, guys, fertilizer guys are in. So when you get the cows this afternoon, you will have to make sure every gate is shut, and know that everybody was very aware of that. Or whatever it happened to be, that weekly staff meeting just made such a difference.
Yeah. And shake it all off. Exactly. And we can talk about what the plans are for the week, what's going well. And I would recommend getting the staff to have a go in chairing, in inverted commas, the meeting, because they'll appreciate that it's quite hard work sometimes, keeping everybody on board.
And it's also maybe keeping them informed. Like I know with mine, they always wanted to see what the results were. So not just what the milk ticket was, but what the fat and protein were. And I had to change. I've mentioned the previous one that I'd started having to convert it into kilos, because I look at Kiwis and they want to know how many kilos of milk solids we sold every day. Some people want that. And sometimes you go on farms, like, I never see, what are your fat and protein? I don't know. I never see that. Because it's just, it's WhatsApp to the boss, basically, or message to the boss. But just maybe sharing that kind of information weekly, right? So the last week, this has gone well, or we've had a cell count, or we've had a mastitis problem. Oh, right, okay, we've had to do this, or whatever it happens to be. It's just getting everybody around the table at once to have those, to exchange information, isn't it? Sometimes so everybody knows what's going on.
What are those KPIs for the farm, and how well are we doing? Have we got some green, ambers, or reds? What are they, and how are we going to do things differently if we're not all in the green?
Yeah, and sharing those successes. Great, our milk solid, our butterfat's gone up, and that's everybody's has done that because we've fed the cows, we've looked after the cows, we've milked the cows, everybody has had input. So it's team effort, and it makes a difference to our milk price. And keeping people informed gives them pride. We're achieving. We're doing really well. We know when we're achieving, rather than just being kept in the dark all the time. So yeah, definitely. And there's no excuses. If there's busy times of the year, then we don't stop having our team meetings. If we're carving, we'll go and have it outside the carving pen, so whoever's carving the cows can still be involved. If it's grain harvest, we'll take it to the machinery shed while they're greasing up, so everyone's still involved. It still happens. Because if you stop, it's really hard to restart.
And it's also
just keep the momentum.
It's little things like that, because as you say, it's also appreciation. I mean, we're talking about there just a pure staff meeting, but I guess another example of that in terms of, let's call it loosely a staff meeting, milk recording. Everybody used to hate milk recording. And so because of, the extra time and effort it takes to clean everything afterwards and stuff and whatever. But I was used to then, again, I'm using my time in Victoria, we had 6 staff. It was after milk recording that morning. We'd take them to the local truck stop. Everybody have breakfast. We'd be there for a good hour, sometimes hour and a half, just relaxed, everybody just having a bit of a laugh. And before we then went back to do it. But it was appreciated, the fact that we went and brought them all breakfast, to appreciate the fact that they put that extra effort in to do the milk recording. And it just gave everyone a bit of time to de-stress and move forward.
Yeah, that's a fabulous example. It's really good. Yeah, take them off farm. Lovely. Great. We can get away from the farm. We can talk to each other like human beings. We can reset. We can recharge and go back and carry on and feel appreciated.
It worked really well. It's well worth doing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Really good example. And the other thing I wanted to cover was people really veer away from giving feedback or dealing with conflict, particularly if you're a certain personality type. So should we deal with conflict?
It needs to be dealt with.
Because what happens if we don't deal with it?
Just festers.
Yeah, it gets worse and worse and worse and grows into a much bigger problem. So we know that we need to deal with it. So it's how we deal with it. And what can stress and conflict do to us physically? How do we feel? What are the signs that we're in stress or conflict?
Don't sleep very well.
Don't sleep, yeah.
Probably getting angry about things probably a bit quicker than we would have got. A shorter fuse is probably
shorter fuse. Yeah, exactly. We can get sweaty. We can have stomachache, headaches. We go red in the face. Our heart rate gets up, and it's not good for us. So it's much better to actually deal with the situation. So the first thing to do is to understand the personalities of the people that we need to speak to about the conflict. Now, whether we've got conflict with someone or there's a couple of members of our team have got conflict and we need to deal with both of them, understanding their personality and how they react when they are in conflict. So we become extremes of ourselves, the negative part of ourselves, when we are in conflict. So if we're a reactive person, we're going to go off the scale. The heat and intensity of what we say and how we say it and the frequency will just elevate. So it's obvious. So that's a sort of extrovert type.
Just thinking of myself, what's the V under the Vita again? I forget.
Vita, so it's visionary.
Visionary, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So they're very direct people.
I get usually I'm not like you normally. I say I'm just over on 3 on my personality on the Vita one. So my visionary is usually sort of 26, 27. I can't remember where it is. I've got it here somewhere. But yeah, when I start to get short, I can see myself just voomp, and I just go right up that visionary scale and get really snappy when I do. And I suppose the kids see it probably more than anything, but you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's coming out on me. I'm getting quite short with people because I'm tired or whatever it is. As you say, as you say, you just said it. It's an extreme. I've never thought of it like that, but that's what it is. It's like it's that part of you is dominating rather than usually just bubbling along like it normally is.
So it overrides. So if you're an investigator, so you're heavy into detail, then you're going to become even more critical, probably, and possibly more introverted. Our team makers, who are normally happy, jolly, supportive people, will just hide away, become very quiet. And our adventurers, it's going to be hard to tell sometimes because they're so open. They'll probably tell us.
They've probably already said about the situation at the time it happened from
moved
experience.
On. Yeah, as far as I could. Yeah, it's done. I'm done. Yeah.
I said about it at the time, moved on.
Yeah, but the other person is still stewing about it. So if we understand the personality of the people we're dealing with when we're going to talk about conflict, don't do it immediately at the time when everyone's in the heat at the moment. Say, well, we're going to talk about this, but we're going to go away and have 10 minutes or have a cup of tea and just everyone calm down.
But the biggest problem with that sometimes, I agree with you, you don't want to do it when you're all hot and bothered, you want to calm down, is it becomes, right, we'll deal with it later, and then later just gets left and left.
No, it mustn't.
I know it mustn't, but I'm just saying, I know that does happen.
It's easier to park it, isn't it, and not deal with it. But if we say we're going to do it, we must do it. So yeah, let everyone cool off, take them and then meet them somewhere privately so they can't be overheard. Don't do it in front of the rest of the team. Just calmly have a cuppa, and remember to use those open questions. So think of your rugby posts and all the W's. Use those open questions. So tell me what was happening today. How are you feeling at the moment? What was the situation? And then we can unpick what really was the cause and the real issue, rather than, well, it's him, he's always kicking off, isn't he? That's not the real reason. We will need to understand the why. And it may be they're feeling undermined, they're not being appreciated, something's going on at home and they've just brought the baggage with them to work. And unless we ask, we're never going to know. We must never assume. So we do it with both people and then bring them back together and say, right, I've had a conversation with both of you, and it appears that Bob's having a really bad time at home, his mum's really ill, whatever it is, and just explain. So can we acknowledge we've got differences? Can we just come back together?
What happens if you're the person they have a problem with because they might not be comfortable telling you that? What's the best thing to do there? What would you recommend?
Well, still try, because you're the leader. So you should be able to do this as the leader, using example. Calm. Yeah. Use those, be in a calm zone, using those open questions, but be prepared to receive it back. Because if you have done something wrong, or you've not explained something, or you've dropped them in it, you need to receive it and acknowledge it. That's accountability. Being accountable for our actions. So if we've dropped them in it, or we've done something wrong, or we've not provided the tools, the time, the resources, whatever, then we need to own it. And then we can say, well, we can acknowledge it and say what we're going to do differently, and do it.
Walk the walk as well as talking.
Yeah, that's a really good, exactly that. So please be brave. Please deal with conflict and giving feedback at the appropriate time. Don't let it fester.
But you've tried that. What would your recommendation be? Get someone else in to talk to them instead? You can facilitate. That's the word you like, isn't it, Sarah? Facilitate?
Yes, yes, facilitate that discussion. Yeah, someone neutral. Yeah, someone that you both respect and trust is ideal. Maybe they've got a mentor on the farm and it's appropriate for them to come in and deal with it.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be someone on farm, does it? If it's going to help moving forward. I mean, I suppose ultimately that's one of the things that real success do, I'm guessing. But there are others as well.
We do.
Yeah,
other people are available.
Yes.
Yeah. I would just be aware of using your consultant or your accountant or your solicitor for situations like that, because the perception might be from the employee that you've stitched them up and it's only going to go one way.
Because they think you're going to side on the side of the employer because they want to keep working.
That's where their business is. Yeah. And then the other thing we should do is, we've taken people on, we should have a formal review with them every year. And I can hear people, oh, really? It's so important. It's so valuable. We always learn so much when we do reviews. And you're giving that, so you put aside an hour once a year. It's not a lot to ask for one person. Sit down in a cool, calm environment. We use sheets where the employee fills in a sheet and the employer fills in a sheet about what's going well, what's not going so well, and what they'd like to happen differently. And we swap those 24 hours before the review, so everybody knows what's coming.
It's not just a review in the sense of telling them what is or isn't, but it's also trying to find out what their expectations are, what their desires are to grow with themselves and within the business, whether that includes some training, or I particularly want to, I don't know, trim feet. Can I go on a foot trimming course, or whatever it happens to be?
Yeah, exactly. I want to go on a welding course. Fantastic, because nobody on the farm can weld. We'll do that. So yes, we want to find out what's going well, what's not going well, and that's feedback for us as well as feedback for them. And what are we going to do going forwards? If we say we're going to...
I was going to say, was it Branson says? Because people are always afraid to train because then they spent the money and the staff member goes on, isn't it? But was it something along the lines of train them? I can't remember what it is. It was basically something along the lines of train them to stay. I can't remember what it is, but basically train them whatever you do, because whether they stay or go,
you end up with if you don't train them, you end up with an untrained person that stays. Is I think where you're going.
Brandon said something along, train them as if they're going to stay, and then hope. I can't remember what it is. There's a particular phrase.
So I'll come back to farmers and say, I don't want, if I train them, I've spent all the money and then they'll leave. But what if you don't train them and they stay?
That's, I kind of think what he's trying to say, and I've just said it very badly.
Yeah. That's all right. We're only human. But we're owning it. We're taking accountability for our actions. Yeah, exactly. If you don't train them and they stay, what are you stuck with? An untrained person that is not as much use as a trained person. And then they're not as invested because you haven't invested in them. So if we're going...
I was going to say, I'm just thinking of someone I can think of. I think they use your services while I think about it. And they'll do the training and people are worried about the cost. But is it something like if the staff member leaves within 6 months, they've got to pay those training costs back? Or there's some agreement along those lines?
Yeah, and you can do that. It's perfectly fine. So it's going to be a big package. Maybe it's a couple of K, and that's a big investment for the business. We're happy to do that for you. But if you leave in 6 months, you're going to pay half of it back, or you have an agreement with them, and or you don't pay it back. We start taking out of your salary. Whatever, you can form your own agreement, but then it's fair, isn't it?
And that's quite normal in a lot of businesses, isn't it? That it's fair. It's fair for both parties then.
Yep, and then you get a really well-trained employee. There's great advantage. You've got the return on investment for all the people that are worried about the money.
Well, exactly. If you've got, I guess I do the cow signals training. If you've got people that are trained and understand those cows better and can handle those cows better, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And we're coming into a time, people are feeling the pinch. Milk prices dropping, grain prices, not been a great year for any sector. And what historically happens is the first thing when we look at the budget, we'll slash the training. What did we just talk about? If we don't train people, what have we got? People that are less invested, less motivated in our business. Therefore, our efficiency and productivity is going to fall. What can we actually really afford to lose?
Not the motivation, not our team motivation, definitely. So how can we keep we've sort of moved on to that motivation bit. How do we keep other ways of keeping our staff motivated? We talked about training. What other ways can we keep our staff motivated?
So generally things will come out of the review as to what they want. Do they need a different work-life balance? Can we adjust their rota to fit in with what they want to do out of hours? Is there a football club they belong to and they want to go and watch them, or they want to go and watch their kids playing football on a Wednesday afternoon, whatever that might be? It may be, can they work a 40-hour week? Can we make the rotas work so that everyone gets that amount of time? It may be just saying thank you when you've done a good job, being appreciated. That doesn't cost anything. But how often does it happen? I was with a big arable team yesterday, and the boss, I was with the management team, and the boss said, I'm spending more and more time in the office. I'm spending less and less time out there appreciating what they're doing. I'm being less and less visible. And he's aware now, and he's gonna factor that into his day to make sure he goes down the yard and sees them and become visible. Say thank you.
And it might be just 5 minutes.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Well,
doesn't matter.
I can't remember what it said to me. It said, well, not everybody went like that, but I know as a student, the first job I ever had off home as a student, it was the manager made sure he came and saw everybody every morning and just said, hello, everything all right, doing whatever. Now, someone said to me, but if they're a visionary, they might not like that. Well, yeah, fair enough. It might be too fluffy for them. But it was the fact that it was like he made engaged, and I guess it's something I took on board when I did. I made sure every morning I'd make sure I saw everybody at least hello, so I knew they were there. Not they just turned up, you didn't see them for the rest of the day. You at least had seen them, everything all right, and move forward. And just, as you say, little things like that, again, can make the difference, just to at least acknowledge that they're there every day.
And it helps us pick up when people aren't their 100% selves. If we see them every day, well, they're a bit down, they're fine yesterday, what's going on? You can start asking some questions and check in. How's everything at home? You know, that's your golden opportunity.
And there's the rabbit hole that you don't want to go down to sometimes, as I say, and you get frustrated as a manager. Oh, okay. You've got to accept it. That's your role, is to to be that listening post.
Yep. The caring, nurturing, supporting. Exactly that. Yeah. Yep. So keeping our team, we know all of our individuals, once we've had the reviews, what floats their boat, what motivates them, we can put that into action, because everybody has different motivators. Money is not the primary motivator. And when we facilitate reviews, we make sure that money is not part of the discussion. That's the different. It can be, you do it at the year end. Tell everyone you're going to decide at end of year, or when the accounts come in, we'll let you know if there's going to be an increase in pay or not.
Everybody thinks it's money is why they leave, and more often than not, it's not. I mean, on LinkedIn, I remember seeing a recruiter. It was a comment along the lines of, I had a phone call from somebody, and they wanted to move. I lined up a new job for them, and not in farming, but whatever industry it was, I lined up a new job for them. They told their existing job they were leaving. They countered, we'll match whatever the salary was, because they'd managed to get a salary uplift in there. So they match it. He said a year later, I'm getting the same phone call from the same person, because it's not about the money, it's about the culture. The money might have improved, but the culture hasn't changed. And they've only stayed short term. And he said, I just get so frustrated. Why don't people realize they're moving because of the culture? That's why they've decided to move. So if they're going to move. Because he said, otherwise I'm just repeating this cycle again and again and again with some people, because they go, I've just had enough. I can't deal with it. I want to move. Or they've suddenly offered me an extra 10K or whatever it happens to be. I'm staying where I am. And he said, year later, here we go again. And it is. And people need to realize it's not about money.
It's not. And it's a huge cost to any business if somebody leaves. Huge cost.
Because you've got to spend the time then retraining the next person, basically, to do the same job, not just in terms of money, but in terms of time, your time, when you could be doing other things.
Yeah, it's also finding somebody as well in a sort of short labour supply
it's
industry.
Becoming increasingly difficult. From that review, you know what people like, you know what motivates them. It's not money, it's how they're treated, what the culture is, what their working conditions are the primary. They're the primary reasons, what you need to focus on. And saying thank you, good job, thanks everybody, really appreciate it.
Makes it sound so simple.
It is really. Just what would you like to happen to you?
Definitely. It's treat other people how you like to be treated yourself, isn't it?
How they want to be treated. Remember with Avita, how their personality, how they want to be treated. Yeah. It's just a refresher.
I really do think that does work, because when I was previously employed, and I found out one of my colleagues was the visionary, and instead of being all lovely and fluffy with her, bless her, she's no longer with us, it was suddenly a lot shorter, much more straight to the point with her, and it works so much better.
Yeah. So you pick up the vibes, the clues as to what the personality is, work with it. So much easier. They'll be happier.
Yeah, exactly. It works so much. Once understood, because we both done the Vita test, once understood what her personality was, it works so much better.
Yeah. So everybody, it's January, it's a new year, bit of a refresh. Think about those personalities on your farm, how you can support them. And if you're recruiting, follow the golden rules and make the most of that honeymoon period.
And so longer term, we've talked about a yearly review, but I mean, some people are on, can be in a job 10, 20 years. What are your recommendations for, my nephew's just changed job recently, and he's just saying he likes the fact that where he's going, people have been, if they're still there, even if it's in a slightly different position, they're still there after 10, 20 years. He said, I look at that as a good thing. So what do we need to do to ensure that people are aware of that, that they want to stay longer term ultimately, if you and they fit and you're achieving what they want to achieve as much as you're achieving what you want to achieve, what do we do to keep people engaged for that time?
Engaged, yeah, motivating. So keeping that connection, isn't it? So those regular meetings, those regular check-ins, we're human beings, we need contact. And if we're not making contact, we're not checking in on how people really are and how they're performing, and giving them feedback and receiving feedback. We need to do that. So we need to be in that culture of psychological safety and trust where we can do that. Because if it isn't there, it's utterly poisonous and it'll never work. And we're living in a world where people don't stay in jobs forever now. You're not a butcher, baker, candlestick maker, and that's it. Movement is, it's frequent.
It's inevitable, isn't it? And
the world has opened up.
And make sure it's people leaving for the right reasons
right
rather than people leaving for the wrong reasons. I think is probably the answer there.
I suppose, like you say now, I often say to people now, it used to be in case, like for a dairyman, you needed to just have a house. As long as you had a house, you'd get a dairyman. It's not that anymore. It's about the culture. But I was also going to say it's about your facilities around you as well. Who wants to milk? I'm not trying to have a go at anyone else, but in a dark parlour, and you do still see some of them that are built probably older than me, older than all of us, to be honest with you, that people are still milking in. And you're like, but people don't want to be here when they could go to somewhere that's light, airy, bright. It makes such a difference.
I remember when I was working for HDB down in Cornwall, and I went to see this farmer, and I said I was thinking of moving down there, and he said, "Oh, would you like to do some relief milking?" I said, "Well, I suppose I could think about it." I said, "I'll show you the parlour." There was one single light bulb for the whole building. I mean, you could hardly see your hand in front of your face. It was awful.
You were never going to find a performing cow.
Oh, I can't see it. It's not there, is it? Yeah, they're still there.
But that fits in with your four things, though, that you said right at the start, because that's effectively your tools, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. If you haven't got the resources, I can't see what I'm doing. Yeah. Let alone anything else. Yeah. So have a look. Walk around your farm, and would you like to work there? Is it fit for purpose? Yeah, and it's not expensive. Generally, not big investments that are required to help make people happy and keep them there.
Well, I'm sort of looking at the time a little bit, Becky, thinking it's time to start wrapping it up. So, is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to? Any final words of wisdom to anybody?
No, I think just treat your staff. We look after our crops and our livestock, and we react when things aren't right. We should do exactly the same for our people. And make the most of that honeymoon period if you're in a recruitment situation, because they're going to remember that for life. I remember when I started jobs, how it worked, what went well, what didn't go well. It's going to sit with them for a very, very long time. So make the most of it, because you're going to get that return on investment. Have they got the tools, the time, the resources, and the knowledge? Then you can set the culture, and off we go.
Sarah?
I think you've just laid that out so well with those four things there, that it's things that we can go away and look at as to what we've got on our own farms, and actually really just do a bit of a self-review. And I think it's just down to making sure we have got a business strategy that we've shared, and that strategy has got our mission, our vision, and
values.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Becky. And has our values, because then that is our culture, and we know where we're going, and we're all on that bus together, rather than all trying to go in different directions.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, through this, I'm listening to myself thinking, God, it sounds like I'm a good manager. I'm not saying I was a good manager at all, but there were definitely some things that worked really well, was the things like I mentioned, like the staff meeting, whatever. But you're right, it is. And little things, like I said, like, don't expect them to turn up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Turn up at 10 o'clock in the morning. And as you say, spend the morning then, bring them on farm to, as you say, what the terms and conditions are, what's policy, what's, whatever it happens to be. I mean, I know one of the things we had was radios for everybody. So they had to sign a piece of paper that basically this was theirs. And if they lost it, it was their responsibility. They had to pay for it. All of these sorts of things all make a difference. And it's, and you say, spending the time with them, making sure they understand, and like you're saying, a yearly review, but during the probation period, you might want to do it at the end of the first week, end of the first month, to make sure they're understanding what's expected of them and vice versa, so that everybody goes. Because ultimately, staff, as you say, it's more expensive to lose a staff than it is to keep a staff. So, training them is important, and maybe there's ways to cover it, as you say, that if they leave within a certain time period, they have to pay back a certain percentage of what that cost is, so that you're not feeling out. But as you say, if you don't train them, well, what are you stuck with? Somebody that's not trained, unskilled, can't do what you expect of them. All these things are important. So again, I suppose it's, as we said, this is the start of 2026, as we did last year with Paul, like we've just done with Becky. Think about your staff. We're in January, we're in February. They're usually the two biggest hump months of the year, aren't they? When it's the darkest, the coldest, and that's probably when people get a bit more down, because we haven't seen the sunlight or whatever it is. And especially farming, you go to work in the dark, you come home in the dark, think about your staff.
You're not selling it, Andrew.
Well, no, but what I'm trying to say is think about your staff, and what can you do that will make their lives better and their jobs easier. And if you do, it's going to pay off for you as well.
Big time. And I've just remembered a really good piece of research I came across fairly recently, and it said if you've got somebody who's one person that's bringing the team down, they're not performing or they're just really negative, that can cost you 30 to 40% productivity across the whole team.
Yeah, I can believe that.
So by managing that conflict and giving the feedback constructively and lifting that person up will bring everybody up.
Because it does. That one person can bring everybody down, because they're thinking, well, if they are not doing what they should be doing, why should I be doing what I should be doing?
Exactly. And it gets infected. Yeah, the team becomes infected. Yeah.
But otherwise, I'd like to thank Becky very much for her time again. And thank you. So otherwise, I guess it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you for listening to the Chewing the Cud podcast, a podcast for the UK dairy industry, brought to you from the southwest of England and listened to around the world. Now for the really boring bit, I'm afraid, the legal disclaimer. The information provided during this podcast has been prepared for general information purposes only and does not constitute advice. The information must not be relied upon for any purpose, and no representation or warranty is given to its accuracy, completeness, or otherwise. Any reference to other organisations, businesses or products during this podcast are not endorsements or recommendations of Chewing the Cud Limited. The views of Andrew Jones are personal and may not be the views of Chewing the Cud Limited, and the views of Sarah Bolt are personal and may not be the views of Kingshay Farming and Conservation Limited and any affiliated companies. For more information on the podcast and details of services offered by Chewing the Cud Limited, visit www.chewingthecud.com. Thank you and goodbye.